Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Quantix Fireside Chat 101, where we discuss industry challenges and bring you industry leaders to share their views on how they are tackling the current situation. With us today, we have a very experienced industry leader. His name is Mr. Jayant Jain. He is the Vice President, Marketing and Customer Services at Reliance Retail Limited. Good afternoon, Mr. Jain. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
A very good afternoon to you, Marky, and to all the viewers who are there on the program.
Thank you so much, sir. So, to
Thank
start
you
off,
for inviting me.
great. So to start off, I would like to ask you the first question for the afternoon. What's your take on the current stand of the retail industry, as in where we stand with the pandemic? How do you think it's shaping up, and what do you see this retail industry blooming into on the whole?
The pandemic has affected the retail industry, if you could call it that, very significantly. But the effect has been varying by different sectors and by different product categories. So, if you look at grocery and whatever, there has been an effect, but there has been no downturn in terms of the total volumes of consumption. But
Correct.
the way products are being bought and whatever, and the kinds of brands that would be, bought more. So there have been effect on that kind of a thing. But the total volumes and the value of that, the total overall value is not declining. If you look at garments, there has been a significant fall. Okay? So garments,
Right.
fashion accessories, there has been a significant fall in the total volume of purchases. So there has been a degrowth in that sector. You look at electronics, uh, overall, the electronic sector wouldn't have suffered at all. But you'd find far more, growth happening with, mobility instruments, with
Right.
laptops, with communications sector, with
Right.
mobiles. But certain other things would have declined. So household electricals, white goods may have declined, but electronics, entertainment equipment, and mobile they would have increased significantly. So overall, the industry does well, but there are product categories which have poorly off. You look at certain other so automobiles that suffered somewhere and is coming back. So
Right.
if you look at overall retail, there's definitely been a significant churn and the change in the way things are happening. Overall, yes, there has been a huge fall. There has been a contraction, and it's coming back. So, given how the situations change, we expect that retail would pick up and would come back to pre-COVID levels within 3 to 6 months, hopefully, if nothing else goes wrong.
Absolutely. So one more thing that I've realized, the current pandemic. I mean, marketing was always done digitally because right now more and more customers are moving on online. It was the start, but the pandemic now has seen a tremendous shift of a lot of customers who are shopping online or be it their groceries, be it anything they need on an urgent basis. They find it more safer and to bring things online. So how have you seen this shift on the whole from a marketing perspective? Number one. And number two, if you could also add in the customer experience factor, how have you seen the significant change in that?
Okay, let's take a little, a perspective slightly longer than the pandemic only.
Okay.
Marketing, retail, all these fields, including banking and all, we've been trying for quite a significant period of time to bring in digitalization to most of these services, uh, customer outreach, because it's slightly more controllable and the economies of scale can come in once we do it.
Right.
So the efforts have been onto it. Governments have been trying it. The Indian government trying to bring in demonetization, for example, 4 years back.
Correct.
Now, all these efforts towards digitalization, whether that's in banking, whether that's in retailing, marketing per se, and these have got accelerated by the pandemic.
Right.
Nothing new has suddenly happened. No new technology has come in. No drastically different way of doing something has happened. These things were being tried out. They've been there to a significant extent. But now the customer finds it useful to latch onto it. Sadly,
Correct.
because of the pandemic, a lot of the stores initially, and in fact, all markets were closed, and therefore people couldn't go out and shop. Now, just because of the pandemic and the shops not being open doesn't mean that there is a need for consumption. People still need to eat, they need to wear, they need to entertain themselves. So they wanted to buy some of these things. In fact, because of work from home situation, need for laptops, mobiles, communication equipment just went up drastically.
Yes, absolutely.
So people wanted to buy things. Now, as customers, what do? There is already an existing e-commerce backbone available in the economy. So those who were present on the e-commerce platforms did significantly better in the initial stages because all the retail, the brick and mortar retail was shut down.
Right.
So that they gave a huge fillip to e-commerce channels. Now, that brought in a significant change to the way that the customer operates.
Right.
You typically cost of the C's in marketing and the P's in marketing and whatever. Now, all of those started getting affected. The place which the customer now buys is not a physical store. He doesn't have to go out. He sits in front of his laptop or in front of his mobile or his tablet and flicks from one to the other. Sources of information now, instead of being your friend, neighbor, relative with the FNR network, is now on the net. You are looking at websites, you're looking at influencers. So your influencers have changed. Earlier, when you wanted to, let's say, buy a big ticket item, you spoke to other friends and relatives and anybody else that you knew who's bought something in that category. You took advice from them. You went out, you looked at it. You didn't search as much on the net. Today, all of that has changed, and you are now searching the net first. You're looking at those, the influencers coming in and giving you advice. Now there are specific channels, programs which continuously keep bombarding you with information. So you rely a lot more on those. So as a customer, now where you get information from about those products, who do you listen to about which is good and which is not good for you? That has changed. Your ability to price hunt. You can go from one side to the other with the flip of a
Absolutely.
by clicking a few buttons here and there, and that's it. You don't have to walk across. You don't have to make plans, and you spend days trying to search for information. You get all of this upfront. So the way in which you are making decisions about buying something has changed. The price hunting may have even moved down from high ticket items to things like grocery. You check.
Correct.
How much am I getting my tin of oil on this site, and how much am I getting it there, or how much am I getting my shampoo for here and there?
Right.
Something that you wouldn't do earlier. You wouldn't walk from one store to the other to buy shampoo, but today you do that. You can buy it on Grofers, you can buy it on Geomart, you can buy it on Amazon, you can buy anywhere. So you simply frequent a few sites. So a whole lot of this, the way in which the customer now behaves for choosing, buying, has changed. And we in marketing have to take this into account now when we make our strategies, when we make our customer outreach programs, the way that we market ourselves, that they inform the customers this is a product that you need to, we've got the product if you want it. So all this is changing. Advertising will change, branding will change. The basic presumptions of how a human being operates will remain the same, but the modalities of how he or she operates have changed.
Correct.
There's been a significant change to customers' buying behavior. And we need to now adapt to being able to manage that. So when we used to talk earlier about multiple touch points, it was like a buzzword. You spoke about it,
yes,
but you really didn't do too much about this. Now we need to. Because earlier what was happening is the customer actually came across to you. Maybe you used a loyalty card. You could track him in one way or the other. Now he's not coming into you. You can't see his face. You don't know what he or she is appreciating. You don't know why they are jumping you. Right? Earlier at the store, if they talked to you for 10 minutes, you knew, whether they're finding it overpriced, whether they're not liking a feature, doing whatever. Why weren't they buying if they want? Or what did they like and why did they buy it? So you could internally understand what was working, what was not working. What happens today? They click on your website, they spend a few seconds, they spend a few minutes. You don't know what was going through their minds. Why they left without buying? Are they coming back? Are they not coming back? So we have to be far more proactive in trying to understand the customer. We have to be able to track this customer if he or she comes to us multiple times, see what they've been doing, and therefore be able to offer them better things. So this
Right.
whole idea of managing these touch points now takes on much more importance and much more immediacy. It's an urgent requirement.
Correct.
So when we used to talk about using artificial intelligence earlier, I mean, these are nice words to say, and you had some very, basic
Absolutely.
things stepping in. I mean, basic things being used as artificial intelligence. Today, you really have to do that. When we talk of machine learning and artificial intelligence, you now need to be able to track your customer across sites. I mean, there are ways to do that, and understand what he or she is doing, what he or she is looking for, and be able to reach out to them and give them that information. Maybe give them a specific promotional effort or something. So things are changing a lot. From just having a mass marketing strategy, we are
Correct.
now having to talk about having an individual oriented strategy. So you need to be able to meet customer expectations at an individual level, satisfy him or her, and then therefore be able to sell and build on those relationships. CRM today is not just about talking inanities and bland and big
Absolutely.
items. You now need to be able to take care of individuals at an individual level. Thankfully, technology and technology products are stepping up to do that.
Correct. So one more thing that I would want to ask you out here, because I understand that so many customers have moved online right now. I'm pretty sure there are new challenges that are faced by, say, the marketing heads or the customer experience heads when it comes to understanding the buying behavior of a particular customer, or as you particularly said, since the face-to-face interactions have reduced so much. So what is that one challenge that you face, that you particularly feel is one where you're still trying to solve, or rather, a lot of industry experts have also faced this one? And where do you see, an opportunity out here for most of the companies? Because I'm sure they wanted the customer always. Now they've got them where they want them. That's online. So how do you see this particular
Really?
transition?
Well, we haven't got the customer where we want them. That's uh, that's the challenge. See, earlier, we actually had the customer
All
coming
right.
up to us, physically there, and therefore being able to interact and record and understand. Today, the
Okay.
customer could be anywhere. I don't know where he or she is. I don't know
Right.
too much about him, and I have to cater to it. So the biggest problem for all marketers today is understanding what their customer wants. Simply because the customer is now at an arm's length. It's a digital divide away.
Right.
Now, whatever technique we use for tracking this customer, getting whatever legally available data we can get about them, and being able to develop a picture, and so what we now talk of the phygital world, okay, is I still have to deliver to him or her physical goods.
Correct.
Very few services can be delivered across of the laptop. Other products have to be physically delivered to him or her. So
Correct.
that last mile reach that I need to get my product across to them is still there. So I still need the physical part of my delivery chains, and I still need the ability to deliver very quickly after he or she is ordered on one hand, and therefore be able to satisfy that part of servicing. Now, if I sell him, let's say, a television or a washing machine or a AC, I need to get it. In this kind of the challenges that are there in a post-pandemic world, I still need to
Right.
deliver and be able to install to his or her satisfaction at his home. Or if they want to catch up very quickly for their afternoon, order of pizza, then I need to ensure that it's also there before the pizza arrives. Now, there are challenges. So the
All right.
challenges of being able to reach out and deliver to them in a physical world, but interesting them in getting them the information, getting their order on the digital world, right? So bringing these two together in a seamless manner requires a huge amount of understanding of their needs, being able to anticipate what and where, which is where all this new technology, all that we can take about the humongous amount of data that we can collect, and then be able to mine that using artificial intelligence and machine learning and a whole lot of other techniques to be able to be ready. So the moment the customer clicks into my, and places an order, I am ready to be able to deliver it to him.
Correct.
This overall thing now is a challenge.
Okay. So, as they always say, when one door closes, another one opens. So, in this case, do you see a window of opportunity for the retail segment on the whole, especially from the digital front?
Well, there every such thing is a threat and every such thing is an opportunity.
Correct.
For existing organizations which had huge, you know, operations to deliver in the physical world, it is definitely a challenge to now adapt to doing it on the digital.
Correct.
But as I said, you need the physical world anyway. So for us, that's a huge opportunity. We should now be able to leverage our physical presence, our physical reach, and our physical ability to satisfy those customers through delivering to them, through being able to show them what it was, and adapt by using digital techniques and this medium. For us, it's like a multiplier. Rather than being looked upon as a threat, I see it more as a multiplier. Earlier, that customer had to get out of his or her house and walk across or drive across to my store, and there was only so much. Each the catchment area was limited. I could get each of my stores could get customers from a specified catchment area, very few from outside that. Today, anybody can be reaching any one of my digital touch points. So it's an opportunity, a phenomenal opportunity. If I start getting my product mix and my pricing and my communication properly designed to be able to appeal to the customer, I can catch a whole lot more customers. I can now leverage this huge strength that we have to be able to grow the business even significantly more than before.
Absolutely. So one more thing that I've realized, so the current pandemic, I believe, has got everyone at the same page when it comes to the marketing, because right now brands had different strategies and they all have been rehashed and they're all trying to find the better way. And I believe they've all come down to the same page. So do you think there's an opportunity for startups also to step in and help from a technology perspective? Also, what we've realized when we're speaking to a lot of industry leaders, many of them were very rigid when it came to adopting technology. Now they are forced, right? Because as you said, AI and machine learning were just conversations. Now they're actually implementing them, right? So do you think it's the start of something new on the whole?
Well, there is a massive opportunity for people with newer ideas to get in. The traditional way of doing things will obviously have to change because you're going to have to use a whole lot more of technology. The internet has been around for quite some time. It's now percolated down to you have the second largest internet using population in the world.
Correct.
So everybody's getting onto the bandwagon. Thanks to companies like Jio, who made data reach and data cost low enough for everybody to be able to afford to use it. Instruments are more economical to use. It's allowing a huge number of new customers to get onto digital banking. Now that allows a whole lot of people also to develop things and to market things to service their needs. Now, especially on the entertainment, software, banking services, financial services side, there is massive shortfall of people to service such needs. So there is a huge area. Now, also for companies itself, so companies from B2B servicing side, marketing side, there is massive scale. Not every company will be able to develop the kind of products or the kind of technology needed to or customize the technology for their needs. This is where startups get in. It's lowered the threshold of investment and the time it took a startup to establish itself.
Exactly.
There is a phenomenal opportunity available today, especially in tech area, for startups to get in. It also throws up interesting opportunity in the non-tech area. The more startups now you can identify. See, the moment it is the ability to reach out to a customer, there are many new possibilities happening. You're looking at a whole new breed of tech-savvy entrepreneurs getting into milk supply, for example. I mean, the number of new ventures in that is phenomenal. Forget just the tech area. So high-end, cutting-edge technology is an area anyway for new technology. But even the most traditional of product deliveries and whatever, there's tremendous potential there. These people could not communicate to a large number of customers earlier and develop enough of a marketing skill to be viable. But today, this situation gives them that
Right.
opportunity. So I would say it's one of those events which allow a whole lot of new blood to get into the marketing and the entire you know area of business. So yes, it's a tremendous opportunity. It's one of those exciting times where new things will come in.
So
Sadly,
is it
some
safe to
old things will
say
die out, but more new things will come in.
absolutely? So is it safe to say that the coming generation of customer experience and marketing heads are going to be more technology savvy, and they're going to
Yes,
depend more?
yes. I mean, there's no question about it.
Absolutely. So
Those of us who've existed in this space for quite some time will have to upgrade our understanding of technology and be able to use it better. And we are going to have very stiff competition from the new age people who are coming in, who are much more used to this technology. But then I would like to add a word of caution here. Technology is a very interesting field. So you need to learn more and you need to be able to adapt and use new technology. But let's not forget the human being who's the recipient of all this technology, the customer.
right,
Right? The customer hasn't, I mean, their behavior has changed to evolve, to use new technology and use new means. But the customer's basic human needs haven't changed. The customer still has fears which they used to have earlier. They still have needs which they had earlier. Those needs can be addressed differently. Those fears can be ameliorated in a different manner. Communication can reach them in a different way, but they need to get information and understanding. And in the end, consume those products in the same way. I mean, if I need to eat, I need to eat.
right,
Technology hasn't changed that. So let's not forget the human being. The technology has to be able to adapt and use human beings. Also, on the side of the providers, see, we get enamored with technology and we try to say, okay, new technology, and replace everything which happened earlier. Now, that in a country like ours is not a very feasible situation. A lot of this new technology being developed in countries like Japan, Germany, across a whole lot of developed countries, was meant to replace a human workforce.
right,
They don't have adequate number of people today. With aging populations and lesser number of workers available, they want to be able to provide services and with lesser number of people. So that technology was geared to replace human workers. In our country and in many other developing countries, we have surplus human beings. We've got more human beings who need
correct,
to be employed. Now, we don't need to be replacing human beings in all our,
right,
work chains and supply chains and in retail and manufacturing or in technology-oriented servicing. What we need to be doing is making those human beings more effective,
right,
making them be able to deliver those services better, more accurately, more correctly.
right,
So the technology that we need is slightly different. It should enable and enhance the capability of our human beings rather than replacing them.
correct,
So, on the supply side, as employers, we have to be very careful of not wanting to say that we are going to replace human beings. We don't. We don't want a robot tomorrow to be servicing customers at our stores or delivering our goods because we don't have human beings. We have,
right,
and we have to take care of those human beings. So we have to be able to use those human beings better. We have to make their work conditions better. So the kind
right,
of technology that we need to know, and we are such a huge market. So that's another area which when we're customizing technology for India and Indian operations, Indian companies will offer huge opportunities to tech startups. We don't want to be copying exactly what's happening in a developed country. We can't pick up their software and use it here directly. We
correct,
need to be able to, I mean, given our huge diversity with language and other things anyway, we need a huge amount of customization. But even at as an objective of using that technology, ours has to be slightly different. We want to enhance the capacity, enable better, utilization of our human resources, not replace them.
absolutely. So moving on to the last question, for the afternoon, which I have for you, and a little lighter one. Majority of the guys would now be who are, or rather, who are actually in your role, being into customer experience and marketing, would obviously want to know what does it take to be successful as a customer experience head or rather as a digital marketing head. If you could share some light on that.
Well, I'd say there are two generations of customer experience professionals today.
Correct.
I definitely represent the older generation now.
But
We've
what's
come
the
in
one
from
thing
the
if they have to learn from you, if they really have to learn something, what would
well,
that be?
don't forget the human being and don't forget the human values.
Correct.
Okay, people like me have to learn new technology, and those who master technology have to learn the human being. So that connect will always be required.
Right.
I mean, we think of human beings first and technology second. The newer generation thinks of technology first and the human being later. So I think we both have something to teach each other.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Jayan Jain, for sharing your valuable insights with us. I'm sure it has been extremely useful, to all our viewers, and I hope that you guys learn something new today. And we look forward to joining with you for our next session with another exciting leader. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jain. It was really a
Thanks,
pleasure
man.
having you with us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure too. Thank you for inviting.